Salve, discipulae. Welcome to chapter 24. Today we're going to talk about the ablative absolute, which sounds impressive, but is really something very simple, the ablative absolute. Basically, all it is if we take a participial phrase that is a participle and the noun modifies, for instance, gladius and ventus, right? The sword having been found. If we just take that phrase and put it in the ablative case, we've turned it into an adverb. And this is something they do a lot in Latin. It's shorter and simpler than the way we normally do this in English, as we're going to see. But so let's suppose we take that phrase, gladius and ventus, the sword having been found. We make it ablative, gladio and vento. And then we add it to this sentence, miles hasto occidit. The sentence is, the soldier killed the enemy. The sword having been found tells us something about that action. It tells us when it happened. Since invento is a perfect participle, remember perfect means completed. That means it happened before the main verb, before occidit takes place, right? So after the sword having been found, the soldier killed the enemy, which, now that's not how we would say it in English, right? We don't say having been a lot in English because we have more graceful ways of doing it. So we might translate it into English or say the same thing. Having found the sword, the soldier killed the enemy, right? Or since the finding happened first, we can say after finding the sword, the soldier killed the enemy. Or when he had found the sword, the soldier killed the enemy. All right? So all of those are expressing the same idea. Again, literally, they're not perfect passive participles, so they're not literally working the same way. But that's what it means, right? So one thing I want you to notice, by the way, in all of these sentences, the subject is the soldier. The enemy is the direct object, right? The sword is really not part of that sentence. It's like added detail. That's why we're putting in the ablative case. If in ventus we're modifying the subject, right? The sword having been found, it was put in a display case. Sword's the subject is going to be nominative. Or if let's see, or he polished his sword having been found. That is, he polished his sword after it was found, right? Then it would be the direct object. But here, the sword is something separate. Soldier is the subject, enemy is the direct object. So that's why we make it ablative, just so we can find some way of connecting it to the sentence, right? So participle phrase in the ablative case used as an adverb. Now, it can be used with any kind of participle. We can also use it with present participles. But since the present participle tells us something different, it's going to sound a little different. It means something a little different. Present participle means the action's happening at the same time as everything else in the sentence, right? So if we say miles gladium invenies, there we go, the soldier finding his sword. But as gladium's accusative because it's the direct object of invenies, right? But miles invenies is our phrase. Miles invenies is our phrase. That's the soldier. He's our noun, and invenies, that's the participle. Miles invenies. Now, if we make that ablative, milite inveniente, the soldier finding his sword, the enemy was fleeing, right? Or actually, the enemy were fleeing. It should be plural in Latin. Okay. That means that at the same time as he's finding his sword, the enemy's running away. They probably see him finding the sword. They know they're in trouble and they take off, right? And again, in English, we normally wouldn't say the enemy finding his sword, or the soldier finding his sword, rather. We would say when the soldier was finding his sword, the enemy was running away. Or as the soldier was finding his sword, the enemy was running away. All right? But the idea, again, is this phrase is just telling us something about the action of the sentence. It's telling us when it happened or under what circumstances it happened, right? So all we have to do, again, is take a participle phrase, whether it's a present participle, perfect passive. You can actually do it with future participles too if you want. Put it in the ablative case, and you've got yourself an adverb.